Located 40 kilometres from Liège, flowing through the Ardennes, the 7-kilometre Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps is where you join us today for round 3 of the Sim Racing Collective Le Mans Ultimate Masters Championship. Our field of 36 thoroughbred sports cars will take through the coveted Belgian circuit, which marks half distance for our inaugural multi-class sprint series. Brief update on the championship as it stands, as this is the first broadcasted round of the season. It's an all-Porsche affair at the front of Hypercar, with Gabriel Adelier heading the category with 39 points to his teammate Adam State on 27. Ryan Gill and Viadi Rombout will follow behind with their Valkyries on 23 points. And the championship is going to be sprung wide open today once again, more so than it already is, because we are missing Gabriel due to a medical reason. Obviously, we wish him well. In the category best known for door-to-door racing and debris from lost wing mirrors, it's the Mercedes of Ian Pfeiffer, sat on 39 points, leading the category of LMU GT3 from Angela Scott in her Aston Martin Vantage on 27. Mercedes man Damian Konchek and BMW aficionado Lucas Palvica are tied for third with 23 points apiece. Heading over to the Manufacturers' Championship, it's an all-Porsche affair at the head of the field of Hypercar, with top-class returnees Aston Martin following behind, only 16 points adrift, and an unlikely third for the Italian manufacturer is Zotter. They're sat on 18 points at the moment, which is good to see the little Italian outfits up the top end of the field. In LMU GT3, it's a familiar sight. Mercedes topping the table, 12 points to the good of Aston Martin, who themselves are 4 points clear of BMW. Porsche trading a little further behind in the 4th position. None of the manufacturers of Corvettes or Lexus really up the front at the moment in time. Hopefully we can see that change, a bit more of a, an international fight rather than it mainly being the European brands. With only Monza, Bahrain and Interlagos to go, this round will surely be cementing our title contenders for the remainder of the season. However, the single points drop round still does mean it's all to play for as we head into qualifying for the first laps are just being set. Currently looking at Henko van den Berg in the one of our sole Ferraris in the field, actually. Not many people picking the Ferrari this season, which is an interesting little sight to see, but he makes his way down the Kemmel straight towards Les Combes, hits the brakes, pitches the car into the apex. Slightly tight on the left-hander, but through the right, nice and clean. Lets the car just drift ever so slightly. The rear end ever so slightly skittish there. Hits the brakes down through the hairpin. And this middle sector of Spa is one of those where it's all about sort of your confidence on the brakes, your confidence on getting that car turned in and how early you can just squeeze the power out of the corner. It's one of those where, you can make up so much time having, relatively high VMAX in these cars, but you can lose all of that through the middle sector because someone else has decided, I've just got a little bit more confidence through here, and that's where we're going to see these overtakes being made through this race. You're going to see it on the slipstream into Les Combes, you're going to see it very much down through Blanchemont and into the bus stop chicane, but you're also potentially going to see it through, corners here like Stavelot. You're going to see it into Les Combes. You're going to see it, very much into La Source as well. Obviously, the short little burst down the start-finish rate. Now looking at Adam State's second place in the championship in the Porsche. The Porsche are a bit of an interesting choice. We had none really entered until the start of round 1. We didn't really see many people picking it in the pre-season. But it seems that Adam and Gabriel have found something to unlock it. A little bit of a rear-end slide, and gets the car pitched in nicely for the second part. Going to lose a couple of tenths there, but as he comes out of the final quarter and across the line, we will see what laps are going to hopefully be put in soon. It's a 2:17 from the man from the Midlands, with Henko coming in about 2 seconds back. Obviously not the cleanest of laps for him. Be one that you can get another run in and hopefully improve. We now look at Owen Parker-James in the Mercedes AMG. Up through Eau Rouge, over the top of Radion, nice and cleanly, well within the track limits there. And now powers all the way down. That Mercedes absolutely hitting at the top end around this circuit. And you're going to see that. You're going to see the BMW, you're going to see the Mercedes really pulling away here. The Aston really got on the brakes and can carry quite a bit of mid-corner speed, similar to the Porsche. But once you start getting into these sort of longer straights, the Mercedes and the BMW will just find a way just to pull ever so slightly away. Currently 5 tenths up on the target time, set by Patrick Den as 2:22.3. Angela Scotti now goes on a 2:21.82. Still 2 tenths up for Owen. As he makes his way through No Name. Clips the curve beautifully on the exit. Wants to settle the car onto the right-hand side here. A short dab of the brakes just to get the car down a gear, pitched in. Looks a little bit ever so wide there. Just compromises that exit. Makes his way now down. Hitting the brakes once again. He's 0.08 of a second behind the target time, which is now a 2 minutes 20.2 set by Ian Piper. So Mercedes, as we expected, looking very, very strong here, at least in the qualifying trim. Craig Twardock as well, sat in fourth in that Corvette as well. Good to see, though he's just been topped by Ryan Walker. So Ryan Walker getting a decent representative time in. It's nice to see the Corvette still, obviously racing the GT3 category. We're not many years into the program now, and that car has slowly started to show it's a bit more of a strong force. A little bit of a slide there as he makes his way down the hill. You've got to be so careful with these mid-engine cars, just how they want to rotate through the middle of a corner. The weight transition, ever so important. And that'll be an escape back to the pit lane to get one more run in. Christian Yoshimitsu comes through to start his lap. 2:01.0 the target time now, because Rombouts has gone 7/10 faster than Adam State. Down the hill, pitches it through the entry of Eau Rouge. Sparks flying as the car bottoms out up the hill, ever so close to the track limits at the top of Eau Rouge. Such a difficult corner to get right. Looking at Paul Venter, one of our only Lexuses in the field now. We did have a good handful of them, but a couple of the drivers did end up swapping to the Mercedes for the season when that got released with the recent update. And speaking of recent updates, if you are interested in racing in TSRC, come and join us. Look at our website, look at our Discord, tsrc.club. Fantastic group of people, many leagues over many platforms. And you can also find us on SimGrid, where the championship is hosted. Paul Venter goes and sets a 2 minutes 22.430. That first sector just not really doing it there. We'll see if he can get second sector, or second lap, sorry, any better. Nicholas Davis, the sole Cadillac of the field in hypercar. Crosses the line, a 2:02 dead. Second back will put in enough for third as the rear end slides out through La Source. Trying to get the Cadillac turned in and get the power on as early as possible. It's such a fun little Daytona hypercar, the LMDH category, of course. Hypercar split into the two different categories. You have LMH, which is reserved for the more factory purpose-built hypercars, you know, the Ferrari, the Toyota, the Peugeot, and the Isotta. And then you come to LMDH, which is more, you have an LMP2 chassis, go work with it sort of job, and a stock hybrid as well, which obviously has a lot less actual charge able to be stored in it. But out in the final corner for Yoshimitsu. Not the best of middle sectors across the line, 2:04.9, but we'll give them time to get one more lap in with 1 minute and 28 on the clock. Down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Past the support pit lane. Pit lane used for the 24 hours of Spa in GT3. Which obviously was a very recent affair, bouncing over the curb there. Be surprised if that didn't trigger a little eye from the stewards there, enforcing all the track limits at the hill. Not exactly the most lenient at the top of the hill there at Eau Rouge and Radion, through Lacon. 7, 8, and 9. We now look at Angela Scotti, purple in the first sector, 10th up on Ian Pfeiffer. She makes her way through P1 now. Gets the car on the outside curb, back in. That Aston looks so planted at the moment. Heading down into 13 and Campus. Got to be so careful. The cars really wants to just not rotate back through 14. The GT is so obviously heavy in these front engine GTs. They do not like the weight transfer at all. Out of Stavelot into turn 16. Just on the power. 3/10 down in the middle sector, but still all to play for. Make up a lot of time through Paul Ferrer and Blanchimont. She heads through now. Get the car pitched in and let it run out, but you don't want to run it out too wide, otherwise you risk quite a lot of complaints from the stewards. Heavy on the brakes into the bus stop. Gets the car pitched in. Through the left-hander. boot the throttle and hope the car sticks. Up the gears and across the line any second. Now it is a 2:20.5, 3/10. Apologies, 2.28 off of pole of Ian Pfeiffer. But an improvement nonetheless keeps her in second place. We're looking at Adam State now for his final attempt. Not seeing anyone dip into the sub 2 minute boundary yet. It is possible around here. The car gets very squirrely. So 1:59. I don't think it's going to be an improvement from our championship contender. No, 201.74 will sit him in second. And a sole Lamborghini in the field. Again, in real life, the Lamborghini pulling out of the World Endurance Championship and the IMSA Championships for the end of the year. And on a foreseeable hiatus. It's a shame, a very good car, just slightly mismanaged, but 4/10 down on the pole at the moment. Can Matthew Cheverton do anything here as he makes his way through Stavelot? Get the car turned in. It's a very stiff car, that Lamborghini, and down 1.9 seconds in the middle sector, so something has gone on for Matt. Makes his way through Paul Ferret. And into Blanchimont. Again, the hypercars very, very sticky through here. Not much needed in the way of convincing to get through Blanchimont flat out, or near flat. Heavy on the brakes, into the bus stop, through the right, through the left. Obviously on the curb, and that is ever so slightly wide in the rear coming out. A little bit of a hindrance to the lap for 203, and it's going to be a 204.1, good enough for 6th place for the Lamborghini. Patrick Den bails from his lap. He's currently sat in 4th place in the class. As Craig Twaddock's just noticed as well, only a 10th off of the pole for the Corvette. We're going to be seeing the American manufacturer fighting with the likes of the Mercedes and the Aston Martin. But a pole of 2 minutes and 20.221 will mean that Ian Pfeiffer sits in the front row of the GT3 grid. And we'll see a new pole sitter in hypercar as well. The starting order, row 1 will be Viardi Rombout in the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Good to see that car at the front of the field. Alongside Adam State in second in the Porsche. Nicholas Davis will start 3rd for Cadillac. And Christian Yoshimitsu will start 4th for Ferrari. In 5th, it's a Ferrari teammate, Henko Vandenberg, and number 21 with the 390 of Matthew Cheverton in 6th. 7th is Joe Pinder, and 8th, Andre Sorodio, the sole Toyota in the field, qualifying towards the back of the hypercar. And the sole Glickenhaus Florian Reiter in 9th. Ian Pfeiffer takes the GT pole with Craig Twaddock of surprising 2nd place in qualifying. Angela Scotti lines up 3rd. 4th place is another Aston. It's Patrick Den with Paul Venter, one of the only Lexuses in 4th. Ryan Walker will then follow on in the Aston Martin with Owen Parker-James sat following him. Jean Schupp, the only Porsche in the field, will line up alongside Connor Dickman, who's had a relatively low qualifying for his taste. Paul Crawford and Alistair Pollock will line up alongside each other. And on row 11, Damien Konchik and Oliver Newman will bring up the back of the field. And of course, the rest of the field here are non-attendees from what we saw. We have about 45 seconds until we go onto the formation lap here at Spa. And oh boy, if it's anything like we've seen previous years around here in the World Endurance Championship and in the Blancpain GT Championship, we're going to be in for a stellar race. Plenty of places for the hypercars to get past the GTs, and plenty of places for the GTs to get past the GTs. It's going to be a case of who is brave enough to make the time up where they can, and who is bold enough to maybe, you know, force a GT just to be a little bit more on edge when they go by. Of course, patience is a virtue. Every second gained is a second lost, and you reap what you sow. If you're horrible to one GT, the next one might not be as nice. But either way, the formation lap is underway any second now, and a pole sitter will spin the rears of the Aston Martin Valkyrie. That V12 absolutely screaming once she get the thing started up. But the Viardi Rombout looking very, very happy here. I was talking to Adam States not long before we got underway with practice here today, and he was feeling relatively confident in his in his speed and his pace, so it'll be interesting to see if he can match the expectations he's set for himself here today. Of course, looking to take the championship lead regardless of, well, as long as he finishes in the top 3, of course, because we are lacking Gabriel, but you never know, it could be a surprise victor here today as around the final corner. Just waiting for the lights to come on. All at 60 kph, 60 kilometers an hour as the lights are on. We are green here at Spa, and it's a beautiful launch by Adam State. The Porsche getting away very, very well compared to the Aston. He will try and look to the inside. It's already a crash in the back. The Toyota is round. However, at the front, it's a nice, clean getaway for Adam State, who now will take the lead and look to pull away in GT. A clean start as well. Ian Pfeiffer looking to get away cleanly with the Corvette in second. Hopefully everyone gets through Eau Rouge and Radion cleanly as well. No yellow flags as yet. The whole field nicely through. Now the question will be here, what has that Porsche got that the Aston hasn't? Through Les Combes for the first time today. See, cold tyres, cold brakes. And already Nicholas has ended up down in 4th. He's been overtaken by, let's try and figure out which Ferrari that is. It's just Mitsu. Rue Bruxelles, and then down into No Name. That Cadillac is known for having such good grunt out the corner, but once that Ferrari does get on the hybrid, it really likes to pull. The Ferrari's also so stable through the corners. It is very, very good. Cadillac a little bit more feisty, a little bit more fire in it to get through those corners. Very pointy car. Through campus now. Down towards turn 15. Little moves being made here and there. Looking at Twadoch now. Fight for the lead in GT between himself, Pfeiffer, and Scotty. Scotty back, just sort of, Scott dropped off just slightly. Seeing the Toyota just trying to make its way through the GT field. Obviously make up for lost time, the spin into the source. Not ideal, but again, we've got 43 minutes left of this race. There's plenty of time, plenty of distance. And we've still got a pit stop to make as well. Through will go the Toyota. However, back to the lead, fight in Hypercar. Across the line and down towards La Source. It's half a second, the gap between State and Ron Bouts. The Aston keeping that Porsche honest. And this is a fight that I believe we're going to be seeing for the remainder of this race. Already a 2.5 second gap back to Yoshimitsu now and Davis. And into the pits comes Twadoch. Twadoch got a penalty potentially for being out of position or speeding at all. We'll see. We'll see if they do just drive through the pits or not, but that is not what you want to see. That Corvette already going to be very far down the field. It is a long pit lane here in Spa any day, let alone when you're just driving through. Down the hill we go, looking at Connor Dickman in the AMG Mercedes. He's got a shooter behind in the Porsche. Porsche going to be one of the ones that struggles around here. Hasn't really got much in the end of top end, and the only real corners it's going to be gaining anything through is like Les Combes and Bruxelles, anything where it can have a quite high mid-speed, or mid-corner speed, sorry. Down into Les Combes, hard on the brakes. Pitch the car right over the curb, pitch the car left over the curb of turn 8. Short little blast into turn 9. Connor is looking for a move. I believe that's on Paul Venter. To the inside he goes into Bruxelles, covered off nicely by the Lexus. Now down the hill towards the corner of No Name. Obviously only recently reprofiled with that extra layout on the inside now. Heading now down towards Pouon. Turn 12. Slightly wide for Connor. And that's a car off. That, I believe, is Owen Parker-James that's gone off. But what's happened there? Has he just lost it? Has he tipped the car in? Has he had help? I hope he hasn't had help. It is all likely. Gets himself going again just in front of Twilight, but those tyres are going to be very, very flat-spotted. Meanwhile, the fight for the lead overall is down to 3/10, and I believe Nicholas Davis has got past Vandenberg as well, and he's now pulling away, so we might see that Cadillac come into the fray. Down the hill we go, into Eau Rouge. Up the hill, over the curb at Radion. And out down the Camel Straight. That Aston has just got such a good top end around here. Does gain a good few tenths, trying to chase on. Down into Bruxelles. And of course, you're following on the YouTube channel. A good friend of ours is Adam, one of our long-time community members. But it does seem that you all believe that he's going to bottle the win today. Of course, we don't want anyone to bottle the win, but if we do get a bit of a feisty fight to the end, all for it. Meanwhile, Christian Yoshimitsu is now on, just been overtaken, by Cheverton. Cheverton was on the back out of La Source, so I believe we've already got it done down the Camel Straight, that Lamborghini. Looking very strong today, sat in P5. You can just see how over the back of him the Ferrari is. Such a stable platform. It's the one thing I kind of learned trying to get that car. You know, that Lamborghini ever so slightly more competitive. It's such a stiff car. You have to tune the stiffness out of it so that it's not basically trying to vibrate itself to bits. But down through Paul Ferret. Through the left-hander. Into the bus stop chicane, round the outside for Yoshimitsu. A little bit of argy-bargy, a little bit more argy-bargy. Who's going to get the drive off the corner? It will be the LMDH initially. But then that Ferrari, the hybrid, will kick in a little bit higher. Just get a little bit more rounding outside on the brakes, late braking into La Source. You should get the better run as well, but the rear end comes out. It's going to give that Lamborghini just a little bit of a fighting chance down the hill. You're not going to make it work through Eau Rouge, so you better wait for the top end at Radion. Let the hybrid and the top end do the work for you. That's much better run. A little bit of a squirm as well for the Lamborghini. Side by side, the two great Italian makes. Into Lecomte, already done. Cheverton thinks discretion is the better part of valour. Got him once, he'll be able to get him again. Through Blanchimont. And oh, big crash there between Sean Shute and I want to say that was Connor Dickman there. It was. Seemed to be Connor on the inside of the Porsche on the outside. No rear wing for the Scotsman. He'll have to crawl that car back to the pits. Smart man keeping it off the grass. We've seen ever so much how many big accidents can happen at that part of the circuit if you are on the racing line. Gets it back into the pits. 37 minutes to go. It'll be very tight if you can make it to the end without another stop. Meanwhile, back at the front of the hypercar field. Bounce ever so close in the slipstream now with the Porsche. IMSA rulebook versus ACO rulebook. Through Blanchimont. The dirty air, ever so convincing, but the Aston to the outside, late on the brakes goes the Dutchman. If he holds it, he'll have the inside for the left-hander. Adam looking for the switchback, gets the power down. So much work Penske did to that Porsche to make it ever so good. But he's not going to be able to hold it on the outside here at La Source. Lead change, Ron Bounce takes it from State. The order is as it was in qualifying, and down the hill we go towards Eau Rouge. Can the Brit have anything? We've got a yellow flag somewhere on the circuit. It's bouncing over the curbs. Is that Penske livery Porsche. Down the Camel Straight. Only about a couple of tenths, 2 tenths gained. But this is where Adam seems to have been a little bit stronger today, is through that middle section. Through Lecomte and down through Bruxelles. But it's not being made easy for him. Takes a little bit of a tighter entry. It seems to just cost him a couple of hundreds. Through Bruxelles and no name. Down the hill. So we're now looking at the fight for... Oh, I believe that yellow flag was then for Nicholas Davis because he's at the back of the field. That is the Glickenhaus as well. I'm trying to figure out what has happened here to these guys. Because obviously Nicholas was up in third. That's now Henko van den Berg once again in the Ferrari. And with where the Toyota was in the field, I want to say that either Sorodio has really pushed through the field, or Florian Reiter has had some form of a problem. But regardless, through campus, Toyota ever so slightly wide once again into Stabilo. The tyres aren't completely square on the Cadillac. They will be able to pull away once again, as we saw with the paces showed earlier. Through Paul Frere and down towards Blanchimont. Toyota holding ever so strong. Down towards the bus stop chicane. Goes to the outside, late on the brakes. There's a GT with no rear wing. Gets out of the way as quickly as possible. Actually has to stop on the outside of the circuit there. But I saw that Cadillac get squirrely and then just enter stage right as a Porsche. It just gives Nicholas a little bit of breathing room. These guys 27 seconds off the lead, so Nicholas has lost about, I'd say about 22 seconds. He's only about 6 seconds off the back of that lead pair. And Adam State is 3 seconds off of the Adi Ron Bout. So what has happened to the Penske also? And he's dropping time. He's still dropping time here. Has there been traffic? Was there contact with a GT? Was it just a small little error from the Brits? Or was there something different that's gone on? Still 8 seconds to the good over Henko van den Berg to make their way down through Pouhon. I'll be interested to see where the bulk of the GT field is. Well, there's the leader through Blanchimont, so they're not going to be that far off of our class intermingling. Angela Scotti currently closing really late on the brakes there. I think that might have just cost her. Pfeiffer getting a decent jump out of the final corner. And Patrick Den, as he stated himself earlier on a rebuilt sim rig with only about an hour's prep, is running in third at the moment. Impressive driving from him. Down the hill we go. It's a second to the good for the Frenchman. Extremely experienced satellite driver. One that I've known for many years. Up the top of the hill, down onto the Kemmel Straight. Another yellow flag is out, and that's Paul Venter around and into the wall. Gets the car going again. Doesn't look to be any damage, so might have actually just avoided the barrier there. He's only got a few hypercars to worry about going by. Fight for third, Van den Berg versus Yoshimitsu at the top of the hill. Looked to be a very good run for Yoshimitsu. Absolutely textbook round the outside. Van den Berg's going to look to try and hold it to the inside at Les Combes. He's going to have to give it and hope to get it back soon. Little flash of the lights there. Oh, and a little squirm from the 50. The inside. Oh, slight contact. It's going to be ever so slightly unsettled, but no positions changed there. Down the hill they go. Through Pouhon. That, I believe, is Owen Parker James's GT3 there. Oh my lord, Henko van den Berg. Stewards are going to end up looking at that one, but that was a very sketchy moment there that I didn't cotton on to until the last moment. Gets the car back on the track. A little bit of gravel in the intake, but nothing that a couple of laps and curb jumping won't sort. Meanwhile, back at the front of GT, it's still a second to the good for Ian Pfeiffer, our championship leader, looking to make it 3 for 3 in the series. But he's not having it all his own way. He's still within arm's reach of Angela. She heads down the hill. The two Astons seeming to work quite nicely in the tandem. 6 seconds to the good is Ian on Ryan Walker. Paul Crawford about another 6 seconds behind them. I do see hypercars in the background, and that is Ron Bouts. To make sure he doesn't go near the rear end squirreling Aston of Patrick Dent. And there's State in the background as well, so they're still within the same straight as each other. Into Lake On they go. Just imagine that Viardi's sat there just taking it a little bit safer. And nicely slotted through turn 9. Down into Bruxelles. Adam still having to get past 2 of the 3 GTs here. Makes it past Den. He's going to look to get past Scotty into No Name. Gets that done nice and easily. And we'll probably look at getting Ian Pfeiffer done in to Pouan. Interesting line there by Pfeiffer. Seems to be the old RF2 line through there. Anyone familiar with that line will know what I'm on about instantly. Down into Campus. The gap now 4.8. Traffic taketh away from Adam so far. But still plenty of time to gather it all up. Still 5 seconds to the good of Yoshimitsu as well, so I do see plenty of chance. We're looking at the energy now. So of course, here in Hypercar and also in GT3, but the GT3 energy not showing. It's not just fuel you have to worry about, it's the energy as well. And the energy is a combination of your fuel usage and your electrical energy. And this is how the series can balance the cars together, just make it a bit more friendly in certain aspects. Adam, 2% less. So not enough to be a concern for now. You need to be looking around sort of 6 or 7% ranges to be looking at maybe a lapse usage of energy. Looking at Matt Cheverton just getting past the Aston Martin as well into La Source. And that is only about 5 seconds off the back of a podium so far, so we could see a Lamborghini on the podium today if the strategy plays out. Class leaders on the screen, Ron Bouts and Pfeiffer, Aston Martin and Mercedes. Down through Kemmel Straight once again. I believe that's Henko van den Berg. Yep, that is coming through. Nicholas Davis already almost onto the back of these guys as we can see him in the background. You can also see the Toyota in the background as well. So these guys making some time up after their initial delays at the start of this race. Bit of gravel being kicked up from the Aston there of Dan. Down into Bruxelles. And this is going to be one of those races where time is of the essence. And it's going to be making the most of the traffic. And that's very squirrely rear end, almost actually collecting the back of the Aston there. But Nicholas Davis, 7th place, this is for 6th. Down out of Pouan. He's going to look to the left. Pfeiffer not too happy with that. But Davis round the outside. Gets it done on the inside of 13. It's not one you see all too often. I think the last time I saw that, at least competitively, was Audi versus Porsche many, many years ago in the World Endurance. It breaks it down through Stavelite. And out of 16. Starts to pull away. Back to 6th for Davis. The Cadillac. Smells blood in the water. Keeping on the gaps elsewhere. Down to Paul Crawford. Crawford up to 5th place now, but there is a Corvette too far behind. That Corvette, of course, delayed early on and looking to make up as much time as possible. Twadok currently sat in 13th in the standings. Didn't actually score a point this season. I believe it's actually the first race he's managed to attend. So to attend it, be 2nd on the grid, and then making up as much time as he is, it's good to see. especially for a late season charge potentially. So they make their way down the start-finish straight towards La Source. Into the hairpin. Brakes glowing red hot on the front of that Lexus. You can just tell how much front bias is being used. And of course, all these cars are going to be just little different setups, little different changes. They're all going to be a little different in how the drivers are using the, the in-car assists to their advantage. Of course, the GT3 is all fitted on board with traction control and ABS, all able to be edited in the car itself. The hypercars, of course, only featured with traction control, no ABS there. Got to be a bit more gentle with the left foot. That could provide some interesting challenges in itself, especially with the GTs around through Les Comps. That Corvette is gaining hand over fist. Down into Bruxelles. Just so much later on the brakes. Is the Brit. Brings it out into No Name. His best bet's probably going to be on the run either down in to campus or on the run up to the bus stop chicane. About a car length between the pairs. They exit Pouhon. Head down to turn 13. No defence needed. He knows he's not going to try anything there. However, slightly wide for the Lexus is going to invite the Corvette to potentially get a better exit. Who goes left, who goes right? They both hold the racing line through Stavelot at turn 15. Through turn 16. Joe Pinder's up to 5th place now in hypercar. The gravel kicked up by Crawford. Just closing the slipstream and the top end on the Corvette just ever so slightly better into Blanchemont side by side. Both of them run wide. I think that is game, set and match between the two. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Corvette pull away. Meanwhile, fight for second now between Scotty and Den. The two Astons, ever so close. Starting to become ever so far from the Mercedes of Ian Pfeiffer. 2.5 seconds the lead gap now, but only half a second between the Astons. And of course, they don't want to fight too hard because they don't want to let him get away, but obviously they kind of want to sit in the positions they're in down the Kemmel Straight. Equal machinery, but slightly different driving style. Through turn 8 and now towards turn 9. You can see just a slight little difference of line choice through there. It's one of those corners where you can gain so much time just by running ever so slightly wider on the entry or ever so tighter through the second part. Out of Bruxelles, a little bit of a wiggle on the rear, and our first hypercar pitter is in. It's the Aston, it's Ron Bouts. He decides to go in. Adam State stays out. So Adam believes he can go longer. Be interested to see the energy levels of the two. Yoshimitsu is in from 3rd. And it is 6%. Adam has exactly 1 lap of fuel of energy or so left. Cheverton is in as well. I would be surprised to see Pinder stay out with him on 5% energy. Nope, he is in as well. It won't be a long stop for these guys. It will be up on the jacks, get the energy in and get them gone again. And it won't be too long before the GTs are in as well. Of course, Hypercar and GT, similar times. Florian Reiter in the Glickenhaus. Unsurprising, staying out a little bit longer. The Glickenhaus able just to go ever so slightly longer on a tank. Of course, no hybrid on the American car. Only the fuel. The big, dinosaur burning internal combustion engine sat in the back of Jim Glickenhaus's machine. Down the Kemmel Straight. Towards Les Comps. But this is what I think I love about the endurance rule, because you can have just so many different designs, so many different types of combustion engine or hybrid system, and it all comes together, and you just have such a vast array of manufacturers, very much coming into a second sort of golden era of sports car racing that we last saw back in the Group C days. Meanwhile, GT pit stops, Ian Piper stays out, Scotty stays out, so does Ryan Walker. Meanwhile, Crawford, Den, and that's Twardock as well, you can see at the foreground of the shot. Meanwhile, Ron Boutz is down out of Bruxelles. And Adam State will pull into the pits. So this is now the important part. Can the outlap for the Dutchman in the Aston, with 20 minutes to go, surpass what was an in-lap, and then will be a very short outlap for Adam. It's going to be warmer tyres versus slightly colder tyres, but it depends on how much fuel the Porsche takes on board. Through turn 16, and now on the run to Blanchemont. Very, very, very fast section of track here. Blink and you'll miss it. Florian Reiter in as well in the Glickenhaus. Adam State is rolling down towards the exit of the pits. It is going to be very, very tight. I think Adam is just going to have it. I think maybe by about 3 or 4 seconds here, actually. Gets the power down at the pits. Where is the Aston Martin? Just coming through La Source now. It's going to be bigger than I thought it was. It's looking about 8.5 seconds almost. No, just 8 seconds as Ron Boutz gets the power down. Up the hill he goes. Meanwhile, Serodio versus Davis. Davis on the outside, Serodio on the inside. Cadillac gets a tighter exit, but he's going to get such a better run. Down the hill we go. And he's through before Eau Rouge, but can the Toyota get the run up the hill in the slipstream? Davis hugs the inside. To the outside goes Serodio. They move each other over. Serodio gets it on the outside. There's a little bit of a nudge there, I think, between the two. And it's going to be Davis holding on. But it is going to bring in Vandenberg back into play as well. And this is the fight for 5th on the road. That looks like a very, very short pit stop for Angela Scotti, because she would have come in a good few seconds behind Pfeiffer, and she is on the bumper as they leave the pit lane. It's about 2.5 seconds coming in, and it's about half a second coming out. Patrick Den is even further back now. Who has played the fuel right, and who has maybe gone a bit safer? Down the Kemmel Straight. If Angela is as light as I believe she might be in that Aston, then I feel we may have a bit of a fight on our hands. Through Les Combes. Trying to get the tyres just back up to temperature. Even sitting in the pit lane for 20 seconds is enough to bring these things down a decent few degrees and make them a little bit sketchy on the first opening lap. But half a second separates your GT leaders, 4.5 seconds separates your hypercar leaders, and in each class there is a sizable gap back to 3rd. Once again, the tops of the class is showing some tops of strategical thinking. Matthew Cheverton does end up rotating into 4th. As Nicholas Davis is closing down the back of 5th. You saw Vandenberg and the Toyota just having a little bit of a ding-dong battle in the background through La Source. Down the Kemmel Straight once again. 16 minutes to go on the clock. About 8 laps or so left, or just under. Through Les Combes. You can just see the difference in IMSA style hypercar there. Just how they drive, how they rotate through the corner. Another yellow flag out there somewhere, just trying to figure out where it is. And that's Ryan Walker. Ryan Walker has come to a stop just off the curve at the Kemmel Straight, so that's not far past the exit of the Endurance pit lane. Rolling backwards towards the Marshall post, realises, sticks the brake on. Still rolling back ever so slightly. Has he run out of fuel? Has the engine just cut out on him? Be interesting to see and find out later on. Meanwhile, that lead gap is now a second and a half. It's not even that. That Aston Martin could definitely see the back end of that Penske Porsche. Into turn one we go. Who gets the better exit? There is GT traffic on the horizon. I think they've not long gone past Twadog, so that means that they're not far off the back of Patrick Den's Aston Martin. Through Eau Rouge, over Radion. Aston just looks a little bit more stable than the Porsche through there. And that could just be how the car is in general, or it could just be how these guys are driving it. That is a Mercedes that they're catching. Is that Connor or is that Owen? Trying to figure out which of the two it is. That looks to be Connor. Into Bruxelles, Adam gets past. Valter, just gets delayed ever so slightly. And it's just one of those things, you don't want to try and do anything just in case. The last thing you want to be doing is jeopardising your own race by hitting the back of a GT car. Meanwhile, we have missed an overtake between Davis and Cheverton. As Davis, in that Cadillac, has got him past the Lamborghini and has pulled a good second or so. Meanwhile, Sorodio versus Van den Berg. Ever so tight between the two, down through No Name. And this is very squirrely. Toyota hypercar. Down through Pouon. And of course, in terms of the championship and the hypercar standings, these two, obviously Van den Berg sat in 8th on 12 points and Sorodio on 9 in 10th. So very much championship positions up for play today, especially with the reduced hypercar field that we've got. The few of our regulars missing. Out onto the run to Blanchimont. Ferrari's a few seconds ahead now. Meanwhile, I believe that's Ryan Walker. I believe he's actually gotten going again. No, that's not. That's Angela Scotti. Sorry, she's dropped a couple of seconds. So that was contact there for sure between Adam State and Ian Pfeiffer. And yet the flash of the lights tells 1,000 tales. Just ever so slightly got a better run. Couldn't get out the slipstream in time. And I think checking up would have been a worse option. But we have a fight for the lead. It's 2 tenths. Behind Ron Verts looking ever so close to the inside into Bruxelles. Not going to make it work there, but forces Adam to get ever so squirrely. Running out down towards turn 11, the corner of No Name. And the run to Pooh on that Aston Martin looks ever so planted here. Going to sit back through Paul on a wise choice. Get him on the run towards campus if you can. He's already got a good run on the middle of Paul. To the left hand he goes. Is he going to try it on the outside? Later on the brakes, the Aston Martin to the outside at turn 13. And gets it done on the inside of 14. The run down now to Stabilo at 15. Adam is going to look to the inside. It's going to be ever so tight. Not going to have the room there. The door slammed on his face. Through 16. On the run, now to Paul Ferrer towards Blanchimont, and that Aston has already got 4 tenths, almost half a second to the good. But it's not over yet. 11 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. A handful of laps left to go. You can count them all on one hand almost. On the brakes into the bus stop. So tight between these two, and he's already gained so much time just on the brakes. The rear end slides on the Porsche. Hybrid versus naturally aspirated. Into La Source, the Aston just takes a little bit of a wider line. It just gives him a nicer run, but the rear end does slide out slightly. Does give him a couple of tenths, but that Penske ever so close now. Through Eau Rouge, up the hill, over the curb. What can Adam do? Or is he going to have to settle for the bridesmaid spot here today? In terms of the championship, it's not horrendous, although Viardi is only 4 points behind, remember. So without Gabriel here, it will make a bit of a difference. Down the hill, looking at 21 of Henk van den Berg. Into Eau Rouge, through the left, through the right, over the top of Radion. Toyota not dropping back too much, but dropping back enough. Meanwhile, that GT lead fight now done and dusted, I think, for the foreseeable. 4.3 seconds the gap. So whatever happened between Ian and Angela, I think, is going to remain that way. Down the hill we go. It's now 2.5 seconds between Adam and Viardi, so something else, either traffic or something otherwise intuitus, has happened. I think Adam might be stuck in traffic here. No, he's just dropped a lot of time. Interesting. We'll have to find out what went down later on. But as these guys make their way. And yeah, Adam taking a whole 8% less energy in that pit stop, which is why he gained so much time. He gained so much time by underfilling the car. Potentially having to save, maybe. I wouldn't think so with this little left of the race. But you never know. Smaller mistakes have happened and they can lead to bigger problems. But the race seems to be settling down now towards the closing stages. Your leader on screen now in the GT3 category, Ian Pye for the Frenchman. Out of the bus stop, that Mercedes looks ever so planted. You wouldn't be able to tell. He was having to be aggressive with that car. Smooth as you like. Powers down the hill. The growl of that Mercedes V8. Through Eau Rouge. Probably the most stable GT I've seen through that section. Henk van den Berg and Andre Serodio behind. I think these two have gotten a bit closer again. Ferrari gets him into Les Cons. That's always a very dangerous move, and almost saw that there. Hitting the brakes right as you cut back across the front of a GT car. Camera angle probably made it look a little bit closer, but it's always a scary one as a GT when you've got a hypercar deciding, I'm just going to, brake about 50 or so meters before you have to, and then just turn in front of you with almost, about a tenth gap between us. Because naturally, you do meet somewhere in the middle. And sometimes the accident is rather large, depending on where you are. Through Pouhon once again. But Toyota, not as far up the field as one would expect, of course, having similar issues here to its World Endurance Championship counterpart. The balance of performance not favouring that car all too well. But of course, you can make so much of a difference here in the virtual world than you can in the real world. Being given an extra 40 kilos in the real world can make a big amount of difference with the weather and different varies of track rubber gripping and if the track's been resurfaced. Into the bus stop once again. That gap seemingly stable. 6 minutes to go. The gap of the lead is very close indeed. It's back down. Note, that's just the timing tower having a moment. Still 4.1 seconds, but it seemed to come down for all of half a second for a moment there. Maybe concerned that there was a slight problem for our race leader. good 5 seconds between the two. That Aston just seems so at home here. Meanwhile, back in our fight for 6th overall, it seems that the Toyota, well, had gotten closer, and then the Toyota's rear end decided it wouldn't like to grip anymore, so has lost about a good couple of tenths. However, it seems that Henko likes to take a bit of a wider line through Bruxelles, which is always it's always an interesting one watching the hypercars take a bit of a wider line, because you then see the differences on exit. And you always then have to figure out if you are actually gaining time by doing that or not. But it's obviously working. That Toyota seemingly a little bit more pacey through Pouon into Campus now. 14. Down into Stavalo at 15. That Toyota right on the back of the Ferrari here. 310, 16, and on to Paul Ferret. The run to Blanchimont, who is going to have the higher top end, who may be running a little less downforce, who may be running a little more through Blanchimont. That Toyota is right on the tail end. But if the gearbox to the inside later on the brakes, it's enough room. Henko gives him room. Not able to get it done. He's going to get a better run out of the bus stop as well. We head towards La Source. I believe that's Joe Pinder not too far in the background as well. So that Aston could come into play for a top 6. Little puff of smoke there as well. And a little slide for Ferrari. Is the pressure getting to him? Or just an uncategoric mistake up the top of the hill? And a long, long, long run to Les Comps. Obviously, the longest straight in Formula 1 was, and of course, still one of the most pretty scenic straights, I believe, on the motorsport calendar. And it's such a heavy braking zone for Les Comps as well. You lose so much speed. That's Bruxelles. 3 minutes to go. Looking about 2 laps to go at the line for the leaders, I believe. Down into Pouon. Just not able to get enough purchase to get by. Little bit of gravel getting kicked up as well. It's never going to help you run too much. Out of turn 16, and now the run to Blanchimont. Senko collected himself. Or is never mind, because here comes the Toyota to the outside. Very, very, very high corner speed through Blanchimont. Gets the move done before the braking zone. And the Ferrari has it all to do again for 6th place with 1 minute and 47 on the clock. To the outside of La Source, who's going to be later on the brakes, about equal. Toyota very tight to the inside, is going to give the Ferrari a better run. Going to squeeze into the inside, well, very close to actual contact there. Just needs to stay patient. He knows where he's quicker, he knows where he's stronger. And this is one of them in the slipstream, all the way down the Camel Straight. Pulls out nice and early, states his intentions. But I don't think he's going to be alongside enough here. No, very far back. But I see an Aston Martin has joined the fray. Could this be 2 free positions for, I believe, that is Joe Pinder indeed. Through Bruxelles. And we're looking at a white flag this time by, with 45 seconds on the clock out of the bus stop. Behind Ron Bertz. starts his final lap with 5.5 seconds to the good, 7 kilometres remaining. And that is Joe Pinder. Swaps to the inside of the Ferrari. Through 13, there's going to be contact between the two. And through Campos, he's going to look to the outside. That is always a very, very unlikely move to happen. But he stays to the inside through Stabilo. I believe Hengo may have just given him a little bit of time. A small flash of the headlights. So it's usually a sorry. But that Ferrari seems to have the run. But that Aston's top end. The top end on the Aston is just unmatched. Through Blanchimont. And heading now towards the bus stop chicane. This could be a 6th place for Joe Pinder. Late on the brakes, he's going to look to the inside. The door's going to get slammed on him. But if he gets a good drive out here, across the line, to the inside at turn 1. Both drivers lock up. And a slightly wide, it's going to give the Toyota a little bit more purchase, but the run down is going to be in favour of the Aston, I feel. Into Eau Rouge, through the right, up the hill, over Radillon. And he just needs the run now. They've already dropped the Ferrari by such a large gap. He goes to the inside, he's going to brake as late as he dares. Gets the car slowed down on the curb. The Toyota's still there, and it's still going to be looking. He just manages to block it off, and he'll hold it for now. But what a race it's been for the Dutchman. Viardi Rombout, he'll make his way through the bus stop chicane. It's a new winner in the TSRC Le Mans Ultimate Masters Series, and it's going to go to Viardi Rombout. It's going to be the bridesmaid for Adam State today. 2nd place for the Porsche in Pfeiffer. I believe it's actually still got a lap to go. And he has. So the GT leader and 2nd place in GT have still got it all to play for if anything happens on this final lap. Christian Yoshimitsu is going to come home, I believe, in 3rd for the Ferrari squad, which is great to see. Meanwhile, in 5th in Hypercar is Matthew Sheraton. I believe that's actually his best result of the season. It is. 5th place will be his best result here at the Spa circuit. The best result for Lamborghini this season. Top 5 for him. And Joe Pinder got the move done at Les Combes, as you saw. Locks the brakes up as well for good measure into the bus stop. But a beautiful drive will see him come home in 6th place. Andre Sorodia will get it will equal the best finish for that Toyota of 7th. And 8th place will be Henke van den Berg. As I believe he's coasting across the line. I believe he was out of fuel. But through Campus will go our GT race leader. It's 8 seconds to the good of Angela Scotty's Aston Martin. Was there fuel saving at play? Did the numbers just not work out? But on the run now, just got to bring the car home. Nurse that AMG back to the start finish. Probably coast from here and get the car home safely. Through Blanchimont. No need to push the car here. Just bring it through. Nice and early on the brakes into the bus stop. Takes the right. Takes the left. And it's going to be 3 for 3 in GT, 3 in Pfeiffer. The Mercedes making the hat-trick here at Spa. And a valiant effort by Scotty. Another 2nd place in the GT category. Very good race as well, what could have been. It looked to be very close after the stops, but what happened during that final stint will be up to us to find out later on. But 1.4 seconds separated the leaders at the end. Viardi Rombout from Adam State. Christian Yoshimitsu brings 3rd for Ferrari. And Nicholas Davis recovers to 4th after an earlier incident. 5th is Matthew Cheverton, and 6th is Joe Pinder. A great result for him. Andres Radio has said it was his best finish in 7th. 8th is Henko van den Berg, and 9th is Florian Reiter. A decent haul of points for the Glickenhaus. In Piper wins in GT, Angelo Scotti 2nd, Patrick Den 3rd in the Aston Martin. Craig Twardock, a race of what could have been, if not for the initial drive-through lap 1. Where would that Corvette have been? Down in 4th in GT. Paul Crawford 5th. Connor Dickman is 6th. Schutter is 7th. And then Ryan Walker, Owen Parker James, Paul Venter, and Alistair Pollock are your retirees for the rest of the field. And of course, Paciola, Steenbergen, Konchik, and Oliver Newman not attending this race either. Well, we didn't see any rain here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps today, but what we did see was a high amount of high-action racing. And of course, next time, in a week's time, will be our 4th round of the championship. That will be at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. I think the Temple of Speed is asking for a lot of hypercars and a lot of GTs. But I've been Alex Skinner, and my broadcaster for today has been Average Sharp, Curious Sharp. And until we see you next time, it's goodbye from me.